We interrupt this program for a special news bulletin.
Throws toward the corner of the end zone. It is intercepted! Intercepted! The Ducks have the ball!
To the end zone! Touchdown, Oregon! Mariota dives! Touchdown! They hand it off straight out! C.J. Verdell wins the game for Oregon!
Inside the 10! A hat-trick, a touchdown from Justin Herbert! Howard's going to run for it. Time runs out, and that'll do it! Welcome to the Big Ten, Oregon! They storm the field at Autzen!
Welcome in, Duck fans, to another episode of the Ducks Rising Alumni Corner on the Ducks Rising Podcast Network. This podcast is sponsored by Backer, and we encourage all Duck fans to check out their amazing Oregon jackets, hoodies, hats, and more at Backer. That's BCKR.com. Use the code RISINGFREE for free expedited shipping. If you use that code, 10% of all orders will go back to Ducks Rising. Really excited for today's podcast. Long time coming. Excited, fired up to be joined by former Oregon wide receiver Will Murphy. Will, great to have you on with us. Appreciate you joining.
Hey, thanks for having us. It's always fun to get on and kind of go down memory lanes and the good old days.
I love it. Well, big shout out to the other Will, our producer, for making this happen. So he's been with us for a little bit now and does awesome work. So just grateful for linking up with you and excited to talk through some former Duck ball. We might as well, it probably makes sense to just start kind of chronologically. So talk us through, high school. I know West Albany guy, I think, if I remember right.
Yeah.
What was that like going through high school, your recruitment, and like how you ended up ultimately at Oregon?
Yeah, I mean, kind of a funny story. You played football at West Albany High School, which is just about an hour north of Eugene. We were 5A, not 6A. We had a pretty good team. I mean, if you look back, we ended up having about 4 or 5 guys that ended up going D1. So even in high school, I felt like I wasn't even one of the best players on our team. I mean, we had some guys that went over to Oregon State that were some serious players. Recruiting-wise, I never got recruited. I mean, I went up to a football camp up to Seattle, a Huskies football camp, and we ran a 40 test. I ended up running the fastest 40 there. And then I got a partial scholarship to Western Oregon University, and I thought that was the coolest thing. So I was planning on taking that scholarship, get to play football after high school. Went down and took a visit there, and I was like, man, I've always dreamed about being a Duck. Like, I'm going to Eugene, even if just not even to play football, I'm just going to go to school. And showed up on the first day of school for the open tryout, the walk-on tryout. And that tryout was pretty insane. I mean, I was thinking, maybe we'll run some routes, catch some balls or stuff. No, it was height, weight, 40, shuttle, get out of here. We'll give you a call if we need you.
Crazy. So is that, I know a lot of times today you hear about, especially local guys like Oregon guys, like preferred walk-ons, they've got a spot, it's all lined up. So it sounds like that was not the case for you. It was just show and go. Yeah,
it was. So the whole preferred walk-on thing, guys get to they get invited to come in August and go through training camp, or fall camp is what they call it. And so you get you get 4 weeks, 5 weeks to actually practice with the team, kind of learn the offense and stuff. And you're much more likely to have a chance to stick around through the season. The first day of school tryout it's cutthroat, man. They're basically saying, all right, can we get 7 or 8 guys that we can kind of use as tackle dummies throughout the season and maybe run some scout offense, scout defense.
Crazy. So was that the plan once you turned down that opportunity at Western Oregon? Was that the plan? Like you were going to go for it once you got to Oregon? Was that a thing you got there, you saw that was an opportunity? Like how did that play out?
So fortunately, my older brother, he's 4 years older than me. He walked on. He was a preferred walk-on at Oregon for football. So he graduated the year right before I became a freshman. So he kind of knew, he knew the coaches. He had some guys, some buddies on the team that kind of vouched for me. So once they did that, they called me and said, hey, we'd like you to come and just try out the first day. So I had a little bit of a, step in the door as far as coaches knew who I was. I had my brother and his buddies on the team to vouch for me. Guys like Jason Williams, Matt Larkin, some guys. Ed Dixon was a good buddy of my brother, so he kind of stuck his neck out for me a little bit. So that definitely helped.
So you show up, you run around for a second, you give your height and weight and get out of there, and then the season's already started, obviously, because it's when school started. So, like, what's it like from there?
Yeah, I mean, I think they were already 3 games in, and that was the year. I think we lost to Boise State at home that year. Remember when they had that like green/yellow helmets, and Justin Roper was throwing the ball. Then I think Chris Harper came in and played quarterback a little bit. So it's like we're already 3 games into the season. So yeah, I mean, you show up to tryouts, which is really tough because, well, let me back up. So you go to the tryout and then it's basically off to class. If we need you, we'll give you a call. So I get a phone call and they're like, hey, we're going to take you on. Practice starts in 2 hours. I was in Lillis Business 101 or something over there. I'm like, oh my gosh. So we go over there, walk in the door. It's not like there's really anybody there to greet you or anything. I'm kind of just walking around until somebody basically is asking me, what the hell are you doing? I'm like, well, I'm supposed to be out there at practice here in an hour. So we go back to the equipment room, get fitted with stuff that doesn't fit, too big, And I literally walk out. I walk down the tunnel at Autzen onto the field, and practice has already started. So not only do I not know anybody on the team, I'm walking out in practice gear during the middle of practice, which is going a million miles an hour. I'm like, where the hell am I supposed to even be right now? So it was a pretty wild experience.
Wow, that's insane. So, like, what's your first interaction with a coach? Are they giving you a position? Like, this is like so crazy to me. I had no idea it happened like this.
Well, like I said, fortunately, my brother, he had some buddies that were on the team, so they kind of recognized me and were yelling at me from across the field, like, get your ass over here. Basically, like, you're going to hang with the receivers, like, just get in the drills. Basically, just try to blend in. Just stick by me, blend in through the drills, and that's what I did. And then came back the next day and the next day and the next day and kept showing up.
Wow, crazy. So that's obviously Bilotti's last year there.
Yeah.
So you're obviously scout team that year, like, paint a picture for fans who, you mentioned a tackling dummy earlier, which is probably the best description of it, but like, what's that like for someone who hasn't played football, just like being on scout team?
Yeah, so it's kind of funny, you go in every morning for meetings and stuff, and the starting offense, starting defense, they're all meeting together, prepping for the week, for whoever we're playing Saturday. The scout team would get there, we would have meetings, and we'd be watching our upcoming opponent, and we'd try to reflect what they were doing. So, like, for me, I was playing wide receiver. So we'd watch film on, let's say we were playing USC that week. We'd be watching USC's offense, watching the plays they run, and then as the scout team, it was our job to try to do our best job at running those plays, lining up in those formations to give our team the best advantage, to prepare them. So we weren't even practicing Oregon's plays. We were practicing whoever we were playing to try to help our team out. So there's a little bit of disconnect from the team in that sense where, we're not practicing our stuff. We're just practicing the other team stuff so you guys can get ready, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. And like, how much of does a guy on scout team like you feel like they have a line to ultimately becoming like a contribute there, or one of the guys in the other rooms who's actually like playing on Saturday? Like, how does that translation happen?
Yeah, I mean, it is tough. Like, for me, especially coming in 3 weeks into the year, it's tough because if you get to go through fall camp, that's when you really get to create some of these bonds and friendships. When you're just the new guy coming in, you got to just earn all the respect that you can. So eventually and the way that I tried to do that was just practice as hard as I could and go as hard as I could, and eventually try to, earn some of these guys' respect. Guys like, I think at that time it was like TJ Ward and Walter Thurman and stuff in our secondary, and I'm trying to run routes against them, and I'm just trying to go as hard as I can to help them get better if I can, So just kind of playing through injuries or practicing through injuries and being banged up, I think eventually kind of won over those guys' respect.
I imagine also trying to avoid just getting your head cut off by TJ Ward, probably over the middle too.
That was the scariest dude one of the scariest dudes I've ever seen on a football field. It's like that guy could lay a hat, man. But
Well, I still, with us playing Oklahoma State recently, I remember we were reliving the hits he had in that game, and like, oh my God, you don't see stuff like that anymore.
That hit he had on Zach Robinson in the Holiday Bowl was hands down the biggest hit I've ever seen in my life.
That one's gonna be replayed for a while.
And I think they called holding on that play, so it didn't even count. The quarterback just got a shot, and they just moved him back 10 yards and say, let's do it again.
Brutal. So, like, obviously you go through 2008, and then, Chip takes over in 2009. Like, at what point did you start to feel like, hey, I can be more than just a guy who's playing on scout team and enjoying the perks of being around the program? Like, I can be a dude and start, like, contributing.
Yeah, I would say that's a good question. And I was trying to think about that, as we were leading up to talking this evening. It's like I don't really remember when that point exactly hit. But what I will say is when Chip became the head coach and Scott Frost became our wide receivers coach, Frost was probably the best coach I've ever had as far as he gave me confidence. He would show me film after practice and tell me, hey, Murph, you can do this. Look, you're just as tall. You're just as strong as Jeff Mail. I was never close to being as good a receiver as Jeff Mail. But to hear that from a coach, that, hey, keep working, gave me a lot of confidence. And probably by my about redshirt sophomore year, I started to feel like maybe I could contribute a little bit. So that 2010 season, the national championship year, I got in and got to get my feet wet a little bit when we were blowing teams out. And then that's when I started feeling like I could contribute, mainly on special teams and stuff like that.
Can you, like, paint a picture of how much more of a challenge it is to, like, ultimately get to that level as a walk-on, and just, like, some of the challenges that are there for walk-ons in programs? I think a lot of people hear that, and you have your stories of, Bryce Betcher nowadays getting talked about a lot. So I feel like you hear all the glorified stories of the walk-on who made it, but, like, what's that like day to day?
Yeah. Man. Yeah, I think one of the biggest challenges that I always remember, it's, you go through all year during the season, you're practicing, guys get banged up. So you get some reps with the third team, maybe some reps with the second team, and you're holding your own and doing pretty good. And you feel like you're getting the confidence from the coaches and you're building confidence in yourself. And then the next year would start and you'd go into fall camp, and now you have these new recruits and stuff. And it was like, you're right back to the bottom. So it's like every year you'd be building up, and then once the new year started, you were just knocked right back down to 5th, 6th, 7th string, So that was a big challenge. But ultimately, once you start getting the respect of your teammates and they have some confidence in you, I think the coaches pick up on that. Once you earn the trust to be out there with the guys, then makes it, that's the reward of going through all those all through that adversity, I guess.
I got to assume there were some times, especially in those early years, where you probably wondered, like, is this all worth it? I mean, was that what was that like?
Oh yeah, I mean, if you ask my dad or brother about that, there was, especially that first year, that first season, I'd call home to my dad and my brother all the time and just, man, I can't do this. This isn't worth it. I'm just a traffic cone out there at practice, basically, And fortunately, I had a good support system. And my dad and brother, they always told me, they're like, hey, you can't quit during the season. Try to get to spring ball. You can quit before spring ball. And I'd get to spring ball and then say, well, get to fall camp. Wait till fall camp. They just kept motivating me to go on. But yeah, there was countless times I just wanted to hang it up and not show up.
Was there like a moment that you felt like, hey, I've reached that level. It sounds like Coach Frost obviously instilled a lot of confidence in you, and I know that really that 2010 year and on, you were kind of made your impact growing every year to ultimately 2012 where you're playing a big role. But like, was there a singular moment you can remember of like, wow, I actually like made it to this level, or was it more just a gradual climb of like more and more and more? And I mean, it seems like your path and trajectory was kind of that ultimately getting to 2012.
Yeah. There wasn't really a singular moment that stuck out to me. I wish there was. I wish I had something to tell you there, but it was, my whole thing was just keep showing up. I liked to compete. I liked going to practice. I knew that I wasn't ever going to be the star receiver or the star player, but I just loved being a part of that team and all those guys in the locker room. So I just enjoyed the whole atmosphere of it. And once I kind of embraced that, I might never be the starter, might never be the guy catching touchdown passes, but I can find a way to contribute and to help make this team better. And that's what kept me hanging on, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. So, ultimately you get to that 2012 season, catch your first touchdown from Mariota, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Almost dropped it. I caught it about 3 times, but yeah.
Hey, caught it. So what's that, just like what stands out about that season today? Obviously one of the most special years in Oregon history. I would argue the best team in Oregon history personally.
Yeah.
We talked to Ifo Ekpreolumu recently, and he said that the Ertz catch in the end zone still stands out in his head. He doesn't go a day not thinking about it. So, the ups and downs from that year, but like what stands out?
Yeah. What stands out for me personally is I got to start a couple games that year, and one of them was the Civil War up in Corvallis, which was just the coolest thing for me. I grew up about 20 minutes from Reser Stadium. All my friends and family are basically Beaver fans. So that rivalry's been instilled in me since I was a little kid. So to get to start at Reser, have 6 or 7 catches in that game was just it was kind of symbolic of everything that I went through for 4 years walking on to get to that point was just a surreal moment. Every play of that game was, I just couldn't believe I'd finally got there. I dreamed about that situation since I was a little kid watching freaking Joey Harrington, Keenan Howery, all those guys. I couldn't believe that I was out there. And then another moment that sticks out of that game or that season was, we get to the Pac-12. Oh wait, I might have to edit this out. 2012. That's when Ertz caught the touchdown against us, right?
Yeah.
So that game, it was so wild because it was senior night at Autzen, but it didn't feel like it was going to be my last game at Autzen because we were going to win. Then we were going to have the Pac-12 championship at home because back then they just, somebody hosted it. Yep. So when he caught that touchdown pass and they take the lead and we lose, I'll never forget that moment. It was like, dang, I just played my last game at Autzen Stadium. I fully expected to have one more game to really soak it in. So yeah, those are the 2 moments of that season that I'll never forget.
That's definitely, I never really realized that perspective of it, but yeah, like I said earlier, I think that's a memory I'll never forget. And I obviously wasn't there, but just the path you guys had lined up after that, and just some of like the swing plays of that game are going to haunt me, and I'm not even a player until we finally win one of them.
I know, and then I ended up playing, I got to Philly and Zach Ertz is out there, so he gave me crap about that all the time. And I'm like, dude, you didn't catch that pass. You know that wasn't a touchdown.
No way. Yeah.
He never admitted it, but he would joke about it for sure.
So I just want to hop back a little bit because obviously we mentioned the Chip Bellotti, obviously transition there. What was that? Chip will always have, I think, a special place in Oregon fans' hearts for those years. And yeah. I think Bellotti himself obviously goes under-recognized, I think, in a lot of places for getting us to that spot. But do you remember much from that transition and just like any anecdotes from one to the other and what that was like in the locker room, amongst players, stuff like that?
Well, the transition was crazy because with Bilotti, and it was just kind of small stuff, but it was like Bilotti, you'd go to classes all day and then you'd always practice in the evening and stuff. And then Chip came in and it was, no, we're practicing first thing in the morning. And practice was a dead sprint. I mean, if you're on the field, we're getting 100, 120 plays in a practice and going as fast as you can. And it was chaotic. And in the locker room, I just remember guys being like, man, I don't know if we can't practice like this the whole season. Like, this is insane. Like, what are we doing? But it was, I don't remember exactly like when that transition happened. Like, I don't even remember when they announced Chip was the head coach, but I do remember that, like, when I was there at Bilotti's last year, it kind of felt like Chip was already kind of running the system a little bit. It felt like something was kind of in the works. But yeah, when Chip came on, it was a 180-degree difference as far as intensity and practice speed and just our whole schedule throughout the day of what we were used to. He just flipped the script on everything.
And so you guys, I know during that time, he would often get quoted, and I think some of the players too, of like, hey, we practice this, this level of intensity, this speed, blah, 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 so the games feel easy. So it sounds like that wasn't any BS.
No, I mean, it was true. And it's like, if you look back on those years with Chip, a lot of those games were close in the first half. It'd be 13-10 or, maybe we'd be losing. But by the third quarter, fourth quarter, we would just break away with it because teams just physically couldn't keep up with us. I mean, if we're running 130 offensive plays in practice, but then the game there's only 75 offensive plays, we just didn't get tired. We wanted to go faster, and Chip wanted us to go faster, and that's how we got our edge on teams.
So you obviously, were with Chip those 3 years and then followed him up with the Eagles a little bit. And I want to talk about that in a bit here, but like, what's something like Duck fans don't know about Chip, or like, what's something that doesn't get out there a lot in the media when he gets discussed that you know about him, saw about him, something like that?
Yeah. Well, one thing that really sticks out to me is, Chip, I remember back in those days, everybody would kind of talk about him in the media, that he was kind of a tough guy, kind of maybe a jerk to the media and stuff. Or Chip cared more about everybody in that building than anybody. And an example that I have of that is once I was done and cut from the Eagles, from their practice squad, and moved back to Portland, about 4 or 5 weeks later, I'm just renting a house up here with some buddies trying to figure out, what I'm going to do. And there's a huge box on my front doorstep. I'm like, what the heck is this? Well, it was a framed picture of our Philadelphia Eagles team picture of me catching a ball in a preseason game, and a picture with all the receivers, and a handwritten note that's about 2 pages long from Chip, just thanking me for the effort that I brought, the attitude I brought, and that just really stood out to me. And then I talked to other guys that got cut and stuff, and they all said that they got one too. So Chip, he could be tough, and he'd let you know if you weren't working hard enough. But genuinely, he really cared about his guys a lot. And I don't think that message gets out about him as often as it should.
Was, not to get too personal, was he the one who, I assume he was the one who cut you face to face?
Oh yeah. Well, when I was out in Philly, I got cut like 3 or 4 times, because you'd get cut after training camp, and then you'd have to clear waivers to get signed back to the practice squad. So it was like I was getting cut and re-signed, felt like it, every other week out there.
Did the last one that ultimately resulted in you, moving back, did that feel different?
Yeah, it did. There is because before that, Chip would call me like, hey, we're going to let you go, but we're probably going to be bringing you back, so stay ready. But that last time, he called me up to the office, and we had a good conversation about stuff, and it was kind of emotional because I really respected Chip a lot. Like, I wasn't one of the guys that was going to be in talking with him very often. I think I talked to him about 10 or 11 times, and 5 of them was when he was cutting me. But yeah, the last time it was pretty clear that was going to be it, and he just thanked me, and I told him, "Hey, go win the Super Bowl, man. I'm still rooting for you." So I thought that was pretty cool.
Was that so? You finished your 2012 season. He goes to the Eagles.
Yep.
Did you have other opportunities? Was it your plan to keep playing? I mean, how did that come about to ultimately join him over there?
No, so after the I think it was the Fiesta Bowl against Kansas State. It's like, well, we have a pro day coming up. You know, I just think it'd be fun to participate in that. So it worked out with Coach Radcliffe and a bunch of the senior guys and stuff, and went to the pro day. The NFL was not even on my radar at all. I thought zero chance. But I did get a call from Harbaugh when he was coaching the 49ers, and they invited me to their spring camp. And then Chip called me when I was in 7-Eleven on 13th Street, headed to class. And it was an Alaska area code. I'm like, who is this? So I answer it. It's like, "What's up, Murph? It's Chip. We're going to fly you out. You're going to come out for a spring training camp." And I literally said, "Bullshit. Who's messing with me?" And he just started laughing. He goes, No, Murph, it's Chip. You're going to come out and try out. So it was super unexpected, but yeah, great experience.
So what's that? I mean, talk about another situation that I feel like we don't get a snapshot into very often. You go from, walk on at Oregon to ultimately earning your spot, and then now you're on a practice squad. Like, what's that like as a player? Is this a lot of similarities to scout team differences?
Yeah, I mean, that process was pretty wild because you go out there for like mini camp in the spring, and there's probably like 60 guys, and you're having a full week of practice, and they're probably going to keep they're probably going to invite 7 or 8 guys to training camp in August. So you just go out there and compete, and then you get invited to training camp because you can only have a max of, I think, like 90 guys can go to training camp. So that's kind of the first step. You go out there, 50, 60 guys, and hopefully get invited to training camp. And it was very similar to walking on. I was like, yeah, been through this before. Let's see how long this one can go.
Was I assume you got to play in some preseason games?
Yeah.
What was that like?
I was out there 2 seasons. The preseason games were pretty awesome. I mean, mainly it's because we got to travel around. I got to play at Soldier Field in Chicago. We got to go to Foxborough, and I just felt like a kid. All these great players you've watched since you were little on TV at these stadiums, and now you're in an NFL uniform and get to run around and compete out there, which was a dream come true, really.
I remember I was talking to our friend Will. I mentioned at the top the other day, and he said he vividly remembers you telling him like something along the lines of a quote of like, "I'm just a kid from Albany, Oregon, and now I'm catching passes from freaking Michael Vick."
Yeah, so, dude, that was so my first preseason game. I don't even remember who we were playing, but it was at home, so it was in Philly, and we ran out of the tunnel, and I literally stopped in the end zone because I couldn't believe it. And someone puts their arm over my shoulder and says, "Hey, Murph, welcome to the NFL. This is the best job in the world." Slaps me on the ass and runs off, and it's Michael Vick. And I'm like, I had a Michael Vick jersey when I was in 6th grade. Like, it was just
Crazy.
one of those moments that'll stick with me forever.
Wow, that's awesome. So how much do you still follow? Like, are you still dialed in to the program today, watching games? Like, how much of a connection do you have? How much are you still following?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely watching all the games. It's right now I just don't really have with the kids and stuff and work and all that. I don't follow it as much as I'd like, but I'm definitely in tune on Saturdays. And I think our team this year is, I think this might be one of the best teams we've ever had. I know it's early, but watching how these receivers are blocking and the depth we have on defense, and our defensive backs. I'm really excited for this season.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, how much do you find yourself you having, like, obviously played at that level, played a little bit in the NFL? Do you like watch the game differently than an average fan would you say? I mean, you mention that stuff about, wide receivers blocking and stuff like that. Do you feel like your lens and, like, what are you seeing that maybe the average fan wouldn't see with this team?
Yeah, I definitely. I mean, I definitely do. I just like watching, like, when we're on an offense. I love watching to see what the defense is doing. I can't help it. We've watched so many hours of film over the years that it's like, hey, are it one high safety, two high safety? Is it man? Is it zone? I love watching the chess match between coaches, seeing what they're trying to do, trying to execute, and yeah, I'm definitely an armchair quarterback when I'm sitting here with my buddies or my family.
We all are, as much as like my entire group chat loves Will Stein to death and worries about him leaving. We'll still be the first one to be like, "Oh, why did he call that play?" What are we doing?
Totally.
I think this is natural fandom.
Yeah, exactly. That just means you care, right?
For sure. That's what we tell ourselves. All right, I want to end with a few quick hitters, which are some of our fans' like favorite little segments here at the end. So, got 5 or 6 just short little questions here. What was the favorite uniform you ever wore at Oregon?
I got 2. I think that 2012 year, the Stormtroopers down at USC.
I was gonna say, if you don't say that one, I don't know what's wrong with you. I was gonna say,
dude, and I think it just ties into going to the Coliseum, and we didn't punt once that game. Kenyon rushed for like 500 yards or something ridiculous, and that game, those uniforms, that's definitely number 1. I think number 2, I really liked 2012, that same year when we played up in Corvallis. We had the yellow helmet, white jerseys, yellow pants. I thought those were clean.
Yeah. I think that, I mean, when people ask me still today, what's your favorite ever? And we had obviously discussion right now because of the Phil ones that just got released. The 2012 Stormtrooper, I'm like, I don't know if that's ever getting beat.
I know.
Anywhere.
I know.
And plus the like game memory it elicits in my mind. I'm like the combination of those two.
Oh, totally. Yeah, man.
All right. What was the most hyped post-game locker room you ever remember?
Ooh, that was definitely when we went down and we beat Stanford. What year was that? They had Andrew Luck, and that was kind of, it's like if we get through Stanford, then we have a big shot this year. And I want to say
it was 2011.
I think it was
that long D'Anthony had a couple long ones. Yeah.
Yep. After that game was absolutely electric. I'll never forget Chip. Chip was hyped after that one too, and he was always, steady Eddie, but he was pumped after that game. So hands down that game for sure.
Best player you ever played against?
Ooh. Let's see. God, got to play. I mean, I didn't get to play in the NFL, but I got to practice against some all-time greats. I remember we practiced against the Patriots for a week during fall camp. I had to run one-on-one routes against Darrelle Revis, and that was like
Revis Island.
Revis Island, man. And that was like, yeah, this is a whole different level. This guy's no joke. So him for sure. And then in college, I'd say the Honey Badger when we went down there and played LSU in the Dallas Cowboys Stadium. Yeah.
Which, by the way, that was EFO's answer to favorite uniform Oregon's ever worn. I think those uniforms were legit and don't get discussed enough.
Yeah, those were sick.
Those were sweet.
Yeah. God dang, man. We should have had LSU. Damn it.
Freshman D'Anthony, I know he put the ball on the field a couple times, a couple other tough breaks.
Yeah. That's all right. D'Anthony made up for it.
Yeah, safe to say. All right, a couple more here. What's the loudest stadium you ever played in besides Autzen?
Oh, when we went down and played at Tennessee, and that stadium, I still tell people that is, I want to go back and just be a fan at one of those games. That was insane. And one of the craziest things about that stadium that sticks out to me is, so in the SEC back then you could have the student section behind the visiting bench, which in the Pac-12 the student section's only behind the home bench. And I'll never forget coming out at Tennessee, and that student section smelled like Jack Daniels, not just whiskey or like booze. It was like Jack Daniels, and they let us hear it for about a quarter and a half till we ran away. But that stadium was by far the best.
That was the lightning delay game or
Yeah.
something? Yeah.
Yep.
Dang.
Yep. And then LaMichael had one of the best runs I've ever seen in my life that game too.
Yeah, that's hilarious. All right, last one. Is there a coach or teammate who had a lasting impact on your life beyond football?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, as I kind of mentioned earlier, just Scott Frost. He was a great receivers coach, and he was kind of the first one that gave me confidence. And I feel like I still owe him a lot. Everything he did for me, I just really appreciate. So Scott Frost for sure.
That's awesome. Bonus question, I guess, of sorts, because I just thought of it. Like, how like special of a connection or like do you feel to like, you know, the walk-on community that gets discussed a lot, and like seeing a guy like Bryce obviously, you know, make it and get a lot of, you know, flowers these days. But I know that's also something that's kind of discussed a lot right now because with the new scholarship guidance. Like, I know walk-ons are kind of on the chopping block at certain schools. Like,
For sure.
how important do you feel like that walk-ons are to like the fabric of a, you know, just like of a college football program?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely going to be biased, but I think that it's huge. I mean, you have guys that are coming in there and practicing for free, you know, especially today, literally free, just for the love of the game. And yeah, whenever I hear that there's a walk-on, like when I'm watching College Game Day and they're talking about it, I'm an instant fan because it's a hard road. And so anybody that's going through it and have success, I'm a big fan of for sure.
I'm always a sucker for the viral videos of the walk-on getting the scholarship and getting the scholarship announcement at practice or on the team. Always love those.
Oh yeah.
Well, hey Will, super grateful for you for hopping on this week. Just appreciative of your time and storytelling and everything, and been really great to have you on.
Hey, thanks a lot. That was a lot of fun, man. Hope to see you soon.
For sure. Just want to thank all fans for tuning into another episode of the Ducks Rising Alumni Corner, and we'll see you next week.